Hi, this is Kristen Logan from the South Carolina Department of Education's Personalized Learning Team. Welcome to a quick tour of how the South Carolina Teaching Standards 4.0 element student work connects to the Measuring PCBL Toolkit. The purpose of this video is to provide a short introduction of how the Measuring PCBL Toolkit outcomes can help measure growth in student work. If you haven't watched the welcome video in the header of the crosswalk document that explains the overall purpose, we suggest watching that before you continue with this video. The Measuring PCBL Toolkit focuses on 8 outcomes that we believe are distinctive of a high-quality PCBL system. Engagement and mastery orientation are the 2 PCBL outcomes we will focus on today. The toolkit was created to help make measuring PCBL impacts as accessible as possible for classroom teachers, school coaches, and leaders, and anyone wanting to document the effects of PCBL practices for learners. Let's dig in and learn more about the connections between student work and the Measuring PCBL Toolkit outcomes. If you are wanting to measure your impact in the 4.0 element of student work, you could use one of the following Measuring PCBL Toolkit outcomes: engagement, mastery orientation, belonging, or agency. We know that in order for students to be engaged and have a mastery-oriented mindset, the work that students do needs to be meaningful, relate to their daily lives, and push them to deeper levels of thinking in a safe learning environment. Now let's look to see how you could use both engagement and mastery orientation to measure impact in the SCTS 4.0 element of student work. Let's level set for a minute. Why are engagement and mastery orientation important? We know that engagement is all about learners feeling excited about and interested in what they are learning. Student engagement encourages skills and habits, motivation, joy of learning, persistence, curiosity that not only correlate to improved academic outcomes, but also gives students a better chance of success in college and their careers. When it comes to the importance of mastery orientation, we know that students with a high mastery orientation focus on learning, not grades, competency and collaboration, not competition, understanding and growth, not just looking or proving how smart they are. Research tells us that when students adopt mastery-oriented goals, they engage in more effective learning strategies, such as learning from their mistakes, changing strategies that don't work, and seeking help when necessary, which are exactly the habits we want when students are demonstrating what they know and can do in their student work. The indicators for SCTS 4.0 rubric element student work and the PCBL outcomes engagement and mastery orientation can work together to support teachers in collecting valuable data about their students' perception of the work they do in class. For example, on the 4.0 rubric, teachers are expected to create assignments that require students to connect what they are learning to experiences, observations, feelings, or situations significant in their daily lives, both inside and out of school. The engagement data collection tool has survey questions that ask learners about their work in class and how it relates to or can be used in their own life, family, or community. In addition, the mastery orientation data collection tool has survey questions that ask learners about their feelings toward deeper learning and whether or not it's important to understand the work or just memorize it. Using the survey questions to find out how students are feeling about their own engagement or mastery-oriented mindset can uncover some reasons behind the output you are seeing in student work. This data then, in turn, can be used by the teacher to inform and grow their instructional practices. Let's click into the crosswalk to see how we might use the data collection tools in the Measuring PCBL Toolkit. I'm going to scroll down to student work. Now let's imagine I'm a high school biology teacher who has chosen to set a goal to work on the SCTS 4.0 rubric element of student work because I want to know why my students' performance on their work in class fluctuates. Sometimes they create work that's aligned to the rigor of the standard and other times they don't. I see that I have 4 different outcomes that I can use to measure impact. I know that there is a strong connection between engagement and what kind of results I see on student work, as well as my students' mastery orientation and the student work they produce. So I'm going to click on the engagement tab first and then the mastery orientation tab second. I see that there are several prompts and questions I can use to create a survey for my students. I notice that each prompt has a code for which level it best fits. Since I'm a high school teacher, I want to make sure the prompts I select fit where my students are as learners. From the engagement tab, I might pick 2 prompts that I can use with a Likert scale, like I'm learning things that are meaningful to me, my family, and my community, or my teachers consider my interests when creating lessons. Then if I scroll down, I might also pick some open-ended questions, like which projects, assignments, activities that happen in this class make you feel the most excited and eager to participate? Or if you were teaching class, what is one thing you would do to make it more engaging for all students? Now, if I click over to the Mastery Orientation tab, because this is the other thing that I'd like to measure, I notice that there are prompts that are similarly set up to the Engagement tab. So I might choose some more questions for the Likert scale portion of my survey. For example, it's important to me that I learn a lot of new things, ideas, and concepts in my classes that require deeper thinking, like drawing conclusions and creating arguments. Notice that I added a few words in there to make it more specific to the 4.0 rubric that I'm trying to measure. Another one that I might choose is in our class, it's important to understand the work and do more challenging tasks, not just memorize the information. And if I scroll down to the open-ended questions, I might pick one that says, when you have an opportunity to try or are faced with learning totally new things that are more challenging, what's your reaction? Once I made this survey, I would give it to one or all of my classes, depending on what I was trying to measure. After getting the surveys back, I could analyze the data by myself, with my coach, or with another colleague to see what I notice and wonder about my students are saying about the student work I assigned them. If I needed to follow up and do some small group interviews, I could use the data and make some changes to my instruction based on what my students said. If my SLO was focused on the same 4.0 element, I could even use these prompts as pre and post data related to one of the competencies I might be working to integrate in my class. Now, you may be wondering, can I do this with just one outcome at a time? And the answer is you can. I just decided to select 2. If you want, you can just select one of these outcomes at the bottom here by selecting the tab and using it as a menu to pull from if it relates to the SCTS 4.0 element you're trying to measure. Now, what if I'm a school leader or an instructional coach? How can I use this same crosswalk? Well, if your school has identified a few of the SCTS 4.0 elements that you are focusing on for the year, then you could ask everyone to focus on the same one or give them a choice between a few. Then, as a coach or school leader, you could create a school-wide survey using the prompts and questions from the data collection tool that apply to the SCTS 4.0 elements that you are focusing on. Have each teacher give the survey to one class during a given class period, and then reflect on that whole school data or individual class data when you're all meeting in your PLCs. Teachers could set their growth goals around the data from their students. That is one way you can leverage the connection between the SCTS 4.0 rubric elements student work and the data collection tools in the Measuring PCBL Toolkit. Now it's your turn to think about which Measuring PCBL Toolkit outcome you want to focus on and explore the survey prompts and questions. We love to partner with educators. Please remember you can always reach out to your regional coach by going to personalizesc.ed.sc.gov/contact-us.